event. We started to not only think and move this autumn, how we do our events in this demanding conditions. And this time we have the hybrid event. It's part of the audience and the speaker is here. And the majority of our members are watching online. So that will be the test. And I encourage also our society, our members, to write a message to us what impression they have about this kind of event organization, that we would like to have feedback. How do they like? So welcome to the hybrid, on-site and online event. And this event we are having on behalf of the Belgium embassy, and that is done by Flanders Investment and Trade Office in Vilnius. And I have a pleasure to pass the word to Thomas Castro to run the meeting.
Thank you very much, Ginteras. So good morning also from my side, audience. Good to see you all. In a long time since we had let's say a physical event, so I'm very happy to see you all here, and also the people, of course, online. Very welcome to today's meeting. I have the pleasure today to introduce you to Ignas Degutis, CFO of Rail Baltica. As probably all of you know, the Rail Baltica project is one of the biggest infrastructural projects within the EU, and it's basically connecting Tallinn, basically the three Baltic states, with a European width railway connection, which then will be joined by the Polish network. So a very big project. It's already up and running. Ignas will give a bit more information about the status, about the plans, the procurement, etc. Well, shortly said, a lot of business opportunities. 2 words about Ignas, and then I will give the floor to him. So he's a project management professional, worked previously at Klaipėdos Nafta, was involved in several waste-to-energy projects, both in Vilnius and Kaunas, and since 2017, the CFO of RB Rail AS, the organization managing the project. So Ignas, thank you very much for joining us, and you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, the Green Business Network for invitation. Pleasure to be here. I'm Lithuanian, so it's a pleasure to speak in Lithuania. Was based now for more than 3 years in Riga. Also, thanks a lot to Thomas. We have a very nice cooperation with Flanders Investment and Trade. Been also in Belgium visiting, and vice versa. So I'm happy to share today Rail Baltica status, and also where are we now, what are our plans, and I'll concentrate my presentation mainly on upcoming 3-4 years, mainly where we are entering into construction phase. If you will have questions, let's ask them after the presentation. We'll have some time. My presentation is quite extensive. I made it very thorough. But of course, we can have some different questions as well later on after that.
Regarding the questions, so the people who are present here today, please, for the people which are joining online, please write your question in the chat. Thanks.
Right, so we have Rail Baltica project, and for some who doesn't know Rail Baltica in detail, what is Rail Baltica? So Rail Baltica is high-speed railway network, European gauge, 1435, which we don't have in the Baltic states at all. It is mixed traffic, so on the same line we will have passenger and freight trains, as we don't have hundreds of millions of people living in the Baltic states. So we put both freight and passenger traffic on the same lines. The project starts in Tallinn. It moves to Riga, then to Kaunas and Vilnius, and then further on continues until Warsaw and to the rest of Western Europe. It's connected to Antwerpen port. The rest of the ports, Hamburg, Rotterdam, Milano, Duisburg, and etc. And we are going to have not only high-speed trains, but also going to have night trains where, if you ask, for any Lithuanian where you would like to travel, it's directly to Berlin. So, if we will have the connection from Vilnius to Berlin in 12 hours in a night train, so it will be a pleasure to travel from Europe to Vilnius and backwards. In general, we are connecting not only the key cities, the key capitals of the Baltic states, so it's new economic corridor in general, but we're also connecting a lot of more cities and more businesses. From the international ports, international stations perspective, international stations will be in Vilnius, Kaunas, Panevėžys, Riga, Varnu, and Tallinn. We, a joint venture established by 3 governments of the Baltic states, we are developing this project. Have branches in Vilnius and in Estonia as well, but the main headquarters is in Riga. On top of that, we are connecting 5 airports in the Baltic states. This is Vilnius, Kaunas, Riga Airport, Varnu, and Tallinn airports. And we are connecting 3 new freight terminals. This is Palemonas in Kaunas, then Salaspils in Riga, and Muuga multimodal terminal in Estonia. So connecting further on to Helsinki. The connection to Helsinki under the water that you heard about the tunnel probably is not a part of Baltica. It's a separate project between Finland and Estonia, but at the currently stage, it is suspended project at all because it costs billions of euros and is quite long term. Although in our business case, in our operational plan, we have foreseen this tunnel operational in 2056. So we have already foreseen the place where this connection could come and to connect also Helsinki further on. But of course, then from Vilnius and Kaunas, we can travel to Warsaw. So that if to look to all the map of the Europe, this is DigiMove or European Union plans to connect high-speed railways in all the rest of the Europe. There are 9 corridors, and our corridor is called North Sea Baltic Corridor. This is red one on top, so we can see that Antwerp port is directly connected to this Baltica link. So then if from the Baltic states we are moving down to south to Warsaw, from Warsaw we can connect to the rest of the Europe everywhere and backwards. So this network, new high-speed railway network, creates completely new opportunities for the passengers and for business. Not only to connect west and east, east and west, but it will be a new economic corridor from south to north and north to south. So for example, Trieste or other ports in Italy where main Chinese products are coming, then would be able to come to Baltic states and Finland further on by the railways. And there is not mainly existing businesses where railway can connect from Czech Republic, from Austria, and etc., and to carry on the goods. So Europe is willing to connect these all the connections and all the countries by 2030. And Baltica is one of the priority projects for European Commission. So we have a very great support. Very huge initiatives, and also the funding is also coming. 85% of the funding is coming from European Commission for this. If to look to the broader perspective, even larger perspective, due to climate change, the ice is melting in the Arctic Ocean, and we see already some opportunities in the future that there might be new routes of cargo from Japan, China, going not through south economic corridor, but through north. What it would mean economically, it would shorten the cargo traveling time by half from Japan or China if the ships would move not through south of Asia, but through north. So that would mean that the connection point would be in Norway on the Arctic corridor side. Then it will move through Norway, Sweden, or through Finland. And if the cargo would go through Finland, it creates completely new opportunities for Baltic states and Finland itself, and Rail Baltica project itself. So we would have to even expand the Rail Baltica project if this would materialize. Yeah, so if to go into details about Rail Baltica project, we have 870 kilometers of the line to be built, 200 kilometers in Estonia, 260 in Latvia, and 390 in Lithuania. Our high-speed railway will be 249 kilometers per hour speed for passenger trains and 120 kilometers per hour for freight trains. It's standard European gauge network where we on the freight terminals will connect to the so-called Russian gauge, 1520 gauge. And on that points, these points we will have, as I mentioned, freight terminals where we can move the goods from one type of trains to another type of trains. It will be fully electrified, so it's carbon neutral. 2 times 25 kV AC. This is a European standard. Even now, because of Rail Baltica project, Poland is about to change their electrification standard to the same as ours. Axle load will be 25 tons per axle. So it means that we will be able to carry on a heavier cargo. And we also recognize as a part of military mobility, Rail Baltica project itself for Europe. So we are here not for the war, but we are here for peace. So in case of urgent situations, trains will be able to deliver tanks, helicopters, and etc. And we are already planning our bridges combined for these loads. And we're working also with NATO and all other institutions. Traffic management system will be the newest one standard, RTMS level 2, baseline 3, which is the newest standard, safety standard in Europe at this point in time. I'll tell a bit about 5G later on. And the train level, 1,050 meters of the trains. It's the longest trains ever yet in Europe. As we are a greenfield project, we are already looking 50 years or 100 years ahead. So for economic perspective, it's wise to have longer trains for cargo that Europe currently is moving towards 750 meters trains. But as we're a greenfield project, we're already looking forward for longer ones. About passengers, we'll have a completely different scenario when we'll have high-speed railway for traveling for business and for leisure. In the Baltic states, yesterday I came from Riga in the night. It took me 5 hours of traveling by car, actually, because it was raining and there was an accident. I saw in front of me how people died yesterday. There was a car crash in front of the truck. And we calculated also that based on in 30 years, based on our because of high-speed railway implementation here, we may save 400 lives at least. So I can physically see this happening. So it's quite a pity. But of course, we'll have a different time traveling scenarios. If it took me yesterday 5 hours standard, it takes 3.5 hours by car or by bus. There is no train connection at all. Even the states cannot agree how to travel on the trains. Now you will be able to travel from Vilnius to Riga in 1 hour 40 minutes by high-speed railway, and to travel from Vilnius to Tallinn, it will take you 3 hours 38 minutes. Now it takes a whole day, actually 9 hours. So, and there are, for the rest of the Europeans, they cannot see that we don't have these connections at all, opportunities to travel between the Baltic states in a fast pace. It's quite standard in Western Europe that you take a flight, you are there in 1 hour, or you go on a high-speed railway. I'm traveling myself there. So it takes very fast. You just jump on the high-speed railway and trains, and then you are there. It's not the case in the Baltic states. So Europe is really helping us to create this connection. And at current point in time, the Baltic states is an island of connection to the rest of the Western Europe on the trains. So we are changing this situation. And also from Vilnius to Warsaw, we're expecting now 4 hours of traveling by high-speed railway. We are also talking with Poland, and there are some agreements signed between Lithuania and Poland how to reduce this time to 3 hours. So there are things developing, and in closer years we will be able to travel. What is the scope? It's quite significant scope for construction. Regardless of railway tracks itself, we're going to have close to 40 bridges. In Lithuania, it will be over Neris River, 1.7 of the bridge. In Riga, it's Daugava bridge. 2 bridges actually even will have double bridge in Salaspils, where there will be a high-speed road connection together with a high-speed railway connection on the same bridge. So it's quite heavy. We're going to have 6 maintenance facilities for infrastructure. Of course, operators will have their own maintenance facilities. We're going to have a number of 100 railway viaducts, a lot of animal passages. We're looking for nature. Going to have a number of road viaducts, international passenger stations, and also 1 railway tunnel in Riga. So during the construction time over coming years, we're going to create around 13,000 direct jobs in the Baltic states, working on site, etc., and 24,000 indirect jobs. So that's supporting this whole environment, hotels, food, and all the connectivity and etc. It is a 5.8 billion euro investment project. It's quite heavy for the Baltic states. That's why there is European support. We're looking for sustainability and European Green Deal. There is huge incentive from Europe to shift from roads, ships, and air to the rail, because we have electrified rail. That means that we're carbon neutral. And that's why we are very in line with the Green Deal itself. We have a big ones infrastructure synergies where we are able to do some things first in Europe, because we are a greenfield project. Not many high-speed railway projects are greenfield in Europe. Most of them are upgrading something. So we're really trying to put everything, even some things in advance, ahead of all the rest of the Europe, and a bit of a testing phase. And of course, in railways, it's quite complicated, because usually you try to invest in something that you already tested. So, but we do some innovations as well. We'll have multimodal integrations. We're looking for how to say ear to rail, rail to ear connectivity as well. How, for example, you are able to enter into the train station, all stuff that you would like to carry on the plane is already passed to the plane immediately from the train station. You can register in the train station already for the flight. You take the train, you go to the airport. You don't need anywhere to register anymore. You go direct to the plane. So we are looking even for such solutions already now. And on 5G and rural connectivity, it's quite a question for now. We don't have a final answer whether we will have 5G or not. We're looking for the newest signaling standards, of course. European Commission is now setting the new technical standards, TSI, for signaling, RTMS, which will only be approved in 2022 and 2023. So we are a bit in the break-even point where we'll have to decide which connection to choose. And European Commission is now setting the standard 5G in principle. They are financing it. And after 2030, European Commission will force all Europe countries to move from 2G to 5G in high-speed railway networks. So as we are connecting by 2026, we're close to 2030. So it's it's not wise to invest into old signaling systems where we can invest a bit more in the beginning and have long-term connectivity. As well as we are connecting 3 Baltic states, so 5G would be also nice from not only economical perspective, but also for the states. They can have connection on the safe line. We are connecting main capitals, so there are different opportunities for the governments themselves how to connect. And on Lithuania side, as we're here in front of Ministry of Transport building, they also decided in the government to develop 5G network on the Baltica line as well. So we have already governmental resolution for this. 1 second, something is not working. Yeah. On the financial side, total capital expenditure is 5.8 billion euro of investments. This includes connection also to Vilnius. It does not include train purchases or any operational side. It's only investment into the infrastructure. And we are receiving 85% of co-financing from European Commission, which is about 4.6 billion euro. We don't have all these funds yet. And the rest of 1.2 billion euro is coming from national governments of the Baltic states. Oh, sorry. Somebody wanted to make a photo and it disappears. It's confidential. Okay, how can we try to fix it? Just a second, online viewers. Somehow the presentation gone. Can anyone write in chat whether you see the slides? We see? Okay.
Ignas, I think you can continue and then see whether the
okay,
project.
sure. So as I mentioned, 1.2 billion euros is coming then from the states, national budgets. If we calculate in general 10 years perspective of the construction when we started the project, for each of the states, it's less than 0.01% of national budget's investment. So it's really low investment needed from the state perspective, where we're going to have quite a significant infrastructure further on in the future. Yeah, maybe I should restart my presentation then. Second. Yeah. And European Commission also plays it very smartly. They don't give all the money at once. They give money when it's needed. So we have already 4 grant agreements signed. We're going to sign 2 new ones this year. So we have secured 1.2 billion euro of this 85% co-financing rate. And European Commission is giving some money. Then they are checking how project is maturing, how we're successful in investments, are there political debates and how the project is moving on. If we are successful in further development, they're giving additional portion. So of course, I'm calling it giving, but actually we are applying, we're asking for the funds, we are competing for the funds. As we are priority project for the Europe, we are quite certain to get something, but we have to show maturity as well. So for the future, we are still looking forward for 4.5 billion euro and current MFF negotiations and council agreement, first of all, and there are now discussions in Parliament, European Parliament going on. It's really key critical for us to secure all the financing needed, as well as recovery fund package is also, we're looking to that because Rail Baltica project in the Baltic states helps also to recover economy and at least to keep it sustainable, stable for the future. So we are also part of recovery fund in the Baltic states. How do we look in the time? It's quite optimistic timeline, let's call it like that, that we're now heavily into design phase. We are starting now construction tenders, and that's why my presentation today is a bit about construction. So by 2026, we'll have majority of the line constructed. We're looking for facilities development. There are tenders for this. The Kaunas Palemonas freight yard is already connected with the European gauge of the single track. So there are already business opportunities for Lithuania, where we'll connect in the future as well. For the railway systems, we are now developing the principles, and we will launch the procurement of both of them next year for design and build. And at the end, we're going to test and commission. What is the most important for us in the Baltics and as joint venture is interoperability. So what does it mean in simple language is that the train could move between the states and it shouldn't stop on the border, and it is safe to travel, and it's traveling 250 kilometers per hour without stops. And you know, everything is automatic. For some other projects, it took 3 years to fix it because it's quite complicated to establish the proper systems. But we're really looking for that we don't have anywhere to stop, and the line is operational. If to look to the progress itself, the project is progressing equally in 3 Baltic states. It has full political commitment to develop the project in the Baltics and Europe. We have also very good support from Poland. We have very little impact of the COVID, as we have majorly Spanish designers, and in Spain, they cannot even travel between the cities. So there was a bit shortage of equipment that we had to take from Spain to the Baltic states. So we have a couple of months only delays, but in general, it does not impact us significantly. And it's also a very good situation because we don't have major constructions yet. It's designed. So a lot of people, thousands of people are sitting in Spain at home and designing Rail Baltica for us in the Baltics. So it's quite a nice interface for that. How does it look on the map? So now we're in design phase from Kaunas to Tallinn all the way. We have 9 design contracts signed already, majorly with Spanish companies IDOM and Ineco, as well as German company Deutsche Bahn and French Aegis, as well as local companies. And then we are now completing majority of them of value engineering, entering in master design phase. And this year we're launching some construction tenders. I will talk about that, and the next year it will be a significant amount of construction tenders launched. On the rest of the line from Kaunas to Vilnius and Kaunas to Poland, there are new developments going on. We are running the special plans, so it will take us 2 or 3 years to develop special plans. And after that, there will be a completely new double-track high-speed railway for these areas as well. If to look country by country, in Estonia, there will be Ülemiste International Passenger Terminal, where the design is about to start in this year in November. On the left-hand side, you can see Zaha Hadid drawings, which they've won the tender, how the station could look like in Tallinn. And there's already existing tram connection from Tallinn airport to the old town of Tallinn. So if you travel to Tallinn, you can take the tram further on to travel to the city and backwards as well. The Pärnu International Passenger Terminal is to be developed as well. Pärnu, for Lithuanians who doesn't know or haven't been, is something like Palanga for us. So it's quite a city for Estonians, and we want to connect Pärnu a lot. Muuga freight multimodal terminal design is starting as well. Pärnu freight terminal design has started, and dry port of Sodavaya also started. So a lot of development going on in Estonia. In Latvia, we have Riga airport station connection, where the construction tender is about to be finished. The design is already there. On the left-hand side, you can see the design of Riga Central Station of Baltica. So we're about to start constructions of the Riga airport already this year. Salaspils terminal, freight terminal design procurement started already this month. So in Latvia it's developing, and Riga Central Station design and build contract is already signed, and in November we're starting physical construction works. And the contract is signed with the Belgium company Besics, together with local help for 430 million euros. So it's quite an investment, and we are very, very happy about their performance. They are doing everything in time and very good quality. So thanks for this. Lithuania will have passenger station connection to Vilnius Connect, which National Railways are developing now. We'll have international passenger station in Panevėžys, also connecting freight yachts there, potential free economic zones to be developed. The Kaunas station will be connected, Palemonas freight under development now, but also we are going to connect Kaunas airport, and also we'll have the connection point in near Elektrėnai, where the state now is trying to decide whether there is a need of new airport connection between Vilnius and Kaunas. So we'll have a connection point of Baltica in that place. If international airport will not be developed, then we'll have free economic zone there. So anyhow, we'll have a station in that place. On the construction works, we have some contracts already signed in Estonia with Connector Eesti. In principle, we're developing now 17 road viaducts by road authority, and the procurements are going on every month almost. So if online viewers as well have any supplier contacts, please apply. In Lithuania side, the construction procurement is going on from Kaunas to Latvia border. It is close to 500 million euro procurement for main line and superstructure, the tracks. We see quite a lot of Europe companies participating, and it is dynamic purchase system where we are trying to apply new systems of procurement, which would allow other international companies to come on board in the procurement at any time and participate in the bids. So how it's working is that there is open tender always. If the construction company is willing to participate a new one, so they are invited. Framework agreements are signed with construction companies. And then as soon as we want to construct bits and pieces of the section, we issue the terms of preference for all these framework agreement construction companies. And then they bid for the price. In 1 month, we sign the agreement with the bidder, and there you go, we start the construction in 1 month. So at any point in time, any other construction company can join the framework agreement if they meet the criteria, minimum criteria, and then we can work together further on. I talked a lot about the Baltic states, but actually in Poland, Baltic is developing very good and very significantly. The line is already built from Warsaw to Sadownia, also to Czyżew. From Czyżew to Białystok, the construction is already signed for 700+ million euros now, and it started this year. From Białystok to Elk, Poland just received 400 million euro funding from European Commission in summertime to start construction of the line from Białystok to Elk. And from Elk to Trakiškė, it's Natura 2000 area, where they have already chosen how the line should be built. They have increased the speed from 160 kilometers per hour to 250 kilometers per hour because they wanted to be in line with the Baltic states on the same speed. And they also got design funds now in the summer. So Elk Trakiškė design is about to start. And we're going to complete Rail Baltica, all the line on Poland side together with the Baltic states in time. So we're very happy with cooperation on Poland side with PKP PLK, who is developing the Baltica project on their side, as well as the Ministry of Transport. And also Poland is increasing the speed on all the line to connect to Baltic states. Now from Warsaw to Białystok and to Elk, the speed is around 120 in most of the areas. They wish to increase to 160, 200 kilometers per hour. So further investments also foreseen and supported by European Commission. Also, if you heard about new connection point, I would say, in Warsaw, where they want to build international airport and to connect every corner of Poland in 2 hours to connect to Warsaw. So this helps as well for the Baltic states to connect to Warsaw in the future. What are we looking now for strategic considerations is that we are finalizing construction logistics, how we will split construction phases. We are looking for supply of materials with framework agreements, so we are launching tenders this year, and we are looking for procurement strategy, how the construction tenders will look like. So we're trying to balance the scope, cost, and time, and of course, in such big projects, everything is challenging in this respect. The whole Europe is actually participating, helping us, Baltics, to construct high-speed railways. At current point in time, we have signed agreements of close to 700 million euros in the Baltic states, and 85% of its nominal value are signed with the rest of the Europe out of Baltic states. To recognize also that from 30 to 50% of the contract's value are subcontracted in the Baltic states, and we already feel the lack of companies participating in the Baltics, lack of capacity here because of such scale of project. Baltic states are not used to. So it's quite challenging for the rest of Europe, and I would like to invite also if construction companies or design companies are participating from there, so please bring on people as well, bring on your know-how, teach local people, because we have never built high-speed railway. It's new standard for us. Yeah, we have split responsibilities of procurement. I will not go into probably details of this as we have short of time. This year we're launching around 788 million euro of tenders in each of the states, and we have 4 major counterparts which are procuring, supervising. This is joint venture, IBREL. Europa Zesalinas in Latvia, Baltica Estonia in Estonia, and Lithuanian LTG Infra in Lithuania. And IBREL is acting as coordinator and systems implementation unit. So I have here the link to all procurements further on the presentation with you. We are looking transparently for transparent procurements. All our documentation is online. From our interviews with suppliers, with a number of them, we received 70% of satisfaction rate where they're very happy or happy about our procurement. We're very active engaging with the supplier community. All our document package is in English. In some cases, you see in local language some part only of that, but it's not IBREL procurements. We are pushing some implementing bodies to move everything to English. We have our procurement common standard and guidelines approved by 3 governments, so you can read it online. And appeal rate is extremely low. We have just a few over time, and we won all the appeals at the current point in time. It is under Latvian public procurement law. Although the directive of procurement law is the same for all Europe, and for Baltic states, we have different procurement laws in the Baltics. It's more strict or different requirements applied, but in general, we have Latvian public procurement law at this point in time. So about ongoing procurements, we're looking for electrification services help for the Baltica project, after which we will launch design and build of electrification in all 3 Baltic states. We're looking also for control command and signaling procurement and deployment strategy services. Next year we're going to launch again design and build contract for RTMF. RAMS consultancy services is launched now. Transport demand model development launched, and shadow operator services. What does it mean, shadow operator services? It means that we're looking for interoperability issues and how not to have any issue during testing phase of the line. And only final slides. How does it look in reality is here is Vilnius station, Vilnius Connect, where we're going to connect to the line. There will be some constructions going on in further years. LTG, National Railways, is developing the station itself. The Riga airport the construction is already about to start. It will connect now to the current station, and there are a need of move of current tracks to the next place. There will be also direct traffic between Riga Central Station and Riga Airport every 8 minutes. So there will be a direct shuttle train between the two. And Ülemiste International Passenger Terminal, so as mentioned, design is about to start, and the construction will move onward. It looks expensive, but it's not. So the first question is always about how much would it cost, but it's actually cheaper than in Riga. Here is Riga Airport station that we are going to connect. So it will be a completely new building. You can see on the right-hand side how it will be connected with high-speed railway and move on to Panevėžys, Kaunas, and Vilnius further on. And these are regional stations. We have three standards. This is Italian design, where we ask them to help. So you see it's totally designed really on the screen. So we'll have also regional connectivity with 200 km/h speed for regional passenger stations. We'll have around 17 stations in Estonia, 13 or so in Latvia, and around the same number in Lithuania. So not only international passenger stations will be, but also regional stations where some smaller scale cities will be able to connect to the international stations as well on the same line. So I was quite deep into details, so maybe we'll have some further on questions. I'm happy to answer them.
Right, thank you very much, Ignas, for the presentation. Are there any questions from the audience present here today? Please.
Yeah, nice presentation, you know. You talked a little bit about the commissioning process, schedule. Do you see that the commissioning would start from south to north, as an example, Warsaw, Vilnius, Kaunas, and then Vilnius to Kaunas, or some other schedule? How do you see the actual commissioning schedule? What's it going to look like?
We're currently developing the launching plan, let's call it that, how we can launch the different connection between different cities or different terminals in a bit different time scale, so that we have piece by piece, for example, connection from one city to another city, and then test that line. Then have another city connection and test that line. So this testing we plan in phases. We are developing this phasing approach now, and we'll be able to come back on this phasing approach in the beginning of next year. So it's quite soon that I'll be able to announce more news on it.
Where is talking about the Vilnius station at the airport, is it going to be almost co-located where the rail line is right now, or is it going to be somewhere else in relation to the Vilnius airport?
It will be exactly the same place. Yeah, we have space in there. So we're going to develop a double track line there and also connection to the airport.
Do we have any questions in the chat? No? Please.
In this kind of projects associated with the land, there is a peculiar part that on that is the process of acquiring the land is over, or there has been any difficulties in that, or?
Thank you for the question. I thought about telling that and I forgot. Is to look at the map. Where are we now with land acquisition? To start about Lithuania, from Kaunas to Latvia border, we have acquired all the land already. by Ministry of Transport and Lithuanian Railways. It was very efficient process because we have Baltica is part of state important projects according to the law. And as a LNG terminal or other state important projects, we have special rights how to acquire the land, and it was quite an efficient process that we did in 1 year for this line. For Kaunas Vilnius and Kaunas Poland connection, the land acquisition has not started yet. First of all, we need to do environmental impact assessment and territorial planning. So after 2 years, we will start a land acquisition process there. And the line is not yet fixed, how specifically it will look like and which places, so I cannot tell now specifically how it will look and which lands to be acquired. In Latvia, now design is ongoing. We have different regulation in Latvia and Estonia from Lithuania. In Latvia as well, Baltica is included in state important projects list and according to the law, but procedurally wise, it's different. In Lithuania, first of all, you acquire the land, you do environmental impact assessment, and then you start design on that corridor. In Latvia, first of all, you set the corridor, you do the design, and then you can start acquiring the land where you know specifically meter by meter where you have this connection. Now we are finalizing value engineering, where we'll know very specific meter by meter where we're going to have, and then we start the land acquisition process. In general, we have problems with land acquisition. We need to change land acquisition law in Latvia because it's very old-fashioned. It takes, if a person does not agree with land acquisition, it takes 3 years to acquire that land plot, one land plot. And there is a need of parliament law for each of the land plot if the person does not agree. So we're looking to change the law from that perspective, and we plan to start the land acquisition quite soon. In Estonia, land acquisition process is done in parallel together with design. From Parno to Tallinn, it's going quite well. From Parno to Latvia border, now it's stopped because the court decided that environmental impact assessment a part of it has to be redone because of a few birds that specifically only in Estonia, they are living on that line where the Baltica will be built. So specific measures were not taken, how to move these few birds to another place, and that's where procedurally we have to do other procedures. But the line will not change. The land will be acquired on the same area.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I have a question on the finances. Big project, and my question is regarding operating costs. Done some models in terms of feasibility, passengers, freight, etc.
Yeah.
At what point do you believe that you will be able to cover operating costs? I'm not talking about the sunk costs of putting this system in place, but operating costs, so that you're making a profit. You make those kind of estimates?
Yeah, we have cost-benefit analysis made in 2017 down there, made by Ernst & Young. It's online on our website. You can have a look in details. Just have to know that it's infrastructure creating possibilities and opportunities for the businesses to have this profit. It's the same as constructing high-speed road connection. You know, for example, from Vilnius to Klaipėda. You don't have profit out of there, but you have the connection which creates profits for the rest of society, an economic order. So we calculated our break-even point after 7-10 years after operations. But of course, the line will have to be subsidized in all 3 Baltic states in order to have these opportunities for all businesses to have. The infrastructure, and we plan in 2030 to have around 5 million passengers in the Baltic states and around 15 million tons of cargo travel through Baltic states on the Baltica line. So we have all these estimates done. We're going to probably recalculate it in the future as well as the project continues. In general, there are also new developments of infrastructure management. Just recently, Estonia decided that they will have their own national infrastructure manager, which is SPV company under Ministry of Transport. In Lithuania, it is LTG Infra, local national railways, and in Latvia, government decided to designate SPV company ADZEL under Ministry of Transport to decide how the infrastructure will be managed in Latvia and of course to negotiate with the rest of the Baltic states how this would be interlinked together and how the line would be managed together. So we'll have separate infrastructure managers, but they will have to cooperate in order to have this economic order effective.
Question.
I don't see. Can you?
Okay. Could you explain what the situation of the future management of the infrastructure in the three Baltic states?
Just explain.
What are the laws of the Baltic states?
Yeah, so just explained actually. Of course, some governmental decisions are still needed. Maybe to continue about the same topic, we will have in the Baltic states decide what will be track access charges, what will be regulation regime, so that the trains would not stop on the border as it is now. If you travel by train or cargo travels by trains in Europe, it has to stop on the each border. It has to change the train. It has to change the crew, the driver, etc. And it's quite very old-fashioned way of traveling. We are looking forward that there's nothing like that. We'll have English language on our trains for operators, etc. So that there is no need for change of crew, of driver, or regulations, or the trains. So we have one connectivity. So these regulations we still need to develop, but it's ongoing in phase. We are going to set also track access charges. In the future, we're going to launch operation tenders, which they will have to procure trains, and will have multi-annual contracts with the governments. So there's a lot of things to develop still, but now we are concentrating at this point in time on construction side to start construction.
Right. I have a question regarding the. You mentioned that there will be 3 multimodal terminals on the Rail Baltica line. Will there be any special tax incentives a la free economic zone to attract businesses? Is it something you envision there?
It's hard for me to answer the government question, but I can answer only that in Palemonas, what we recently see that is quite an interest from Western Europe, because they plan quite in the future. The project or the line is coming in closer than 10 years. And a private business is already looking forward where to buy a land plot, where to buy a factory or some logistics center in order to have this connection first to connect to Rail Baltica, because only if you invest first, you can get this all business first. So we already see some investments coming up in Kaunas. We already see Chinese companies and German companies buying land plots in Muga port to connect to Rail Baltica project already since last year. So there are some investment looking for that, and there are just for pre-economic zones, but these are not yet developed or developing. For example, Panevėžys, there's opportunity, but they have to decide on the governmental and municipality level. In Kaunas as well, in Riga it's not there yet, in Muga as well. So, but probably it's up to the states to decide.
Do we have any more questions in the chat? No. Please.
Did the pandemic affect the project in any way?
It's very lightly, I would say. We see majority of the bidders or suppliers still participating. In only a few cases, it impacted because they couldn't get one or another document from state institution because they were closed somehow. But we gave some time for them to have some time to apply for this. Our designers had some impact, but very light as well because they couldn't travel between the countries in Europe. And as we design phase, it's quite okay. From our side, all our team are working. Even in this pandemic time, we were working online from home, and it was even more efficient actually than working in the office. So we don't see a major impact on this. Even otherwise, we became the stabilization in project for Baltic economies. And this recovery and etc. Even Rail Baltica project creates itself as incentive for recovery and businesses. So kind of. It's vice versa.
All right, no more questions in the chats. Before I give the word back to Gintaras for some practical remarks regarding the future events, I would like to thank Ignas for being here today. Thank you very much for the presentation. As we all understand, it's a huge project with an enormous number of business opportunities. Thank you very much for joining me here today, also online. Stay safe, and Gintaras, please, regarding the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ignas, for your presentation. Actually, when listening, I found myself thinking that there is also the social side of this project. We have been now talking about more on the technical engineering aspects. And the social side for me, I have never separated myself from my car. When I'm thinking, if I go to Kaunas, if I go to Klaipėda or Riga, I drive. And now I start thinking, okay, this is another way of living that might change the living of society. And like I used to be in Germany or Belgium or Netherlands, the connection is very societies, and that may be partly coming and changing our social behavior. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I would like to thank our audience participating online and inform that our next event will be on the long-awaited topic. That will be meeting with a unicorn from Romania. The Romanian embassy will organize the event. I'm not announcing yet technical details, but of course we will have the speakers from the unicorn, the top management. They will speak online, and we will see what the arrangement we will have here practically. The event will be in the first half of November. So we don't have settled the date yet, but so please follow our internet, our Facebook, and everybody will be informed by mail when we will be closer to the event. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.